Welcome back to the Convo Couch. Rokfin exclusive coverage of the 2020 Democratic primaries. The first one of the season is in Iowa. The Super Bowl was yesterday, but for you political junkies, today is the day. It's the day you circled years ago when Donald Trump took the White House. We were waiting for this day. Now joining us in the studio, well, not in the studio, but via satellite, we have a very popular podcaster out there, her own YouTube channel. She's awesome. We love her. Friend of the show, Kim Iversen is with us. How you doing today, Kim?
Hi, thanks for having me on. This is an exciting day, isn't it?
Oh, it's beyond excited. And we've talked to a lot of people today, but Kim, we've been waiting for this for a long time. Tell everybody out there your initial feelings, your thoughts. I'm wired on coffee. I've been going crazy all day. Tell us what you think about today.
I think that the establishment is going to feel very frightened. I feel like after today, I'm really hoping, I'm a big Tulsi Gabbard supporter, but I am really hoping that Bernie Sanders actually sweeps today. And I hope that it's by a lot. I know that they've kind of changed their way that they're doing the coverage this time, that they're going to be doing 3 different results. And it's really interesting to me that they're releasing 3 different results. I think they're doing that strategically because I think what they're thinking is that possibly Joe Biden would get the initial first round vote. And then after those who are Yang supporters or Gabbard supporters would end up kind of going over to Bernie. And in which case that would give him the ultimate win. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the reason why they wanted to show that was so that they could have a story to say, we think Joe Biden's going to win. Joe Biden is actually the number one and people don't really want Bernie. He's just a second choice for people or, kind of tell that sort of story. But I'm hoping that today that's not actually what's going to happen. I'm hoping that tonight Bernie Sanders clearly wins in all the categories so that it sends a message to the establishment that, and this time they're being so blatant about it, right? They're like, oh, stop Bernie. Yeah. They're not even hiding it this time.
No, it seems like they've gotten scared towards the very end before the first vote was casted. To me, a lot of the establishment emptied their revolvers and their guns. They tried to throw everything at him. He's a misogynist. He's old. He's got heart problems, whatnot. And now, even here, you're a Tulsi Gabbard person. So am I. But It's just the treatment. The DNC has just changed the rules so Michael Bloomberg can enter the debates. Now, they shun Cory Booker. They shun Tulsi Gabbard. What are your thoughts about this? And if they change the rules in the debates, can't they just change the rules at the convention against Bernie Sanders?
Well, and that's the talk, right? There are some establishment insiders who want to change the superdelegate rule. They want to be able to take the superdelegates back to the very first vote. And I don't think that's likely to go through. I think that would be just so obviously rigging the system. They think they're not being obvious by changing the rules for Bloomberg, but they are. Clearly they're getting desperate. Yeah. What had happened was, obviously, they were hoping that Joe Biden would be the guy. And unfortunately, after watching the guy stumble on stage, it's like he could barely form sentences half the time. He doesn't even know. His mind is clearly, unfortunately, going. And I sympathize with him for that. It's hell getting older. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he's getting older, and it's not his fault that, unfortunately, I think his mind is going, unlike Bernie's or even Trump's, who are around the same age as him and even older, and they're like crystal clear, right?
Yeah.
But I think they kind of saw that with Biden. They thought, oh crap, this isn't going to work, and so they put all their eggs into Buttigieg, and they were really hoping Buttigieg would be the moderate establishment guy that they could funnel all the resources to. And originally I think they thought Kamala, they've kind of gone in this order.
They thought they can get Kamala to win in California, and she'd even make it to California.
Yeah. They were hoping Kamala at first, and then she started to tank, and then they thought, okay, Joe Biden, and that wasn't working. And then they thought, okay, Buttigieg, let's put some money behind him and the establishment behind him, but he can't get the black vote. And so now it's like Bloomberg is the next guy in line that they're hoping is going to be this saving grace. And it's about damn time they just figure this out. It's going to be, they cannot beat the progressive movement this time around. It's better if, and I hate to give the GOP any props at all, because the mindset and, the GOP is just so far gone in my mind. But the one thing or two things, I feel like, one, they didn't rig their primary last time around, right? They had, they were shocked they didn't know what to do or what to think, but they did let Trump win. They didn't try to do anything to stop it. They were just, they were appalled. But they allowed it to happen, unlike the Democrats that wouldn't allow it to happen for Bernie Sanders. And I got to give them props on, they've embraced Trump. They've become the party of Trump. You know, the establishment guys like Mitch McConnell, he has fallen in line, right? The establishment said, okay, this is what the people want. We're just going to have to roll with it.
Yeah.
And they've seen the consequences of not. You know, they've seen some of the Republicans try to stand up to Trump and they lose their seats. They're voted out. They're seeing that kind of happening with Mitt Romney right now. People are starting to turn on Mitt Romney. And, you know, that I just wish the Democratic establishment would figure it out in the same way that the GOP establishment figured it out. They were like, we have to roll with this or we lose our jobs.
Yeah.
And I just wish the Democratic establishment would do that same thing.
Well, let's stick on that for a second.
Hopefully will open their eyes.
Yeah, because I have a question. Let's stay right there because that's an interesting point right now. Because, you know, when I talk to a lot of Bernie staffers and a lot of the events I went to and a lot of these conventions, they just said, we're going to give them another chance. We're going to give the DNC, that is, another try to not screw them. And I think they're hoping the same thing that happened with Donald Trump as far as the avalanche, that it was so big. Because, yeah, the Republican Party didn't really try to screw Trump as far as, you know, with their analytics and suppressing the vote, but they did throw a lot of their media against him and they tried to weigh it against him. He was just so overbearing. But do you really think that this tactic is not risky to not even, so where Bernie has been so quiet and not called out the Democratic establishment for when they're changing these rules? Like when it came to the Bloomberg thing, I think he should have said something. And I don't know, the silence of not calling out the DNC, I think it might cost us some votes.
Well, he did on Twitter. He kind of said, you know, a lot of people came out on Twitter and said, oh, you know, this is ridiculous. It is. I mean, look, you know, I think there's a bunch of us that if they do this, I mean, I no longer consider myself a Democrat at this point. And, but I still feel like there's still hope I could come back, right? Like we're at this point where they could win me back over. They could woo me back in if they don't screw this up. But if they screw this up, I'm never coming back. I will never pay attention to them ever again after this.
Dem exit for good.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of us feel this way. Like you've already, you know, this was like we had a bit of a rough patch in our relationship and we're kind of on a break. You know, we're on a break. Yeah. But you could damage this for good and we're out for good. And I'm filing divorce papers and that's it. Right now we're just having a separation. But I'm going to file for divorce.
Yes. I mean,
and I'm going to take the farm with me.
It's the abusive relationship you continue to stay in. Listen, Bernie Sanders and both Tulsi Gabbard said they're not going to run third party. But if they do openly get cheated this time again, Kim, isn't it time to start a third party? Doesn't Bernie bear that responsibility of getting cheated again, that he has to go third party?
Yeah. I mean, I think he would, you know, it's, boy, that's a tough one, right? Because you just don't want to make them right on anything. And that's the one thing I just don't want to make them, the establishment, right. I'd rather, because look, okay, so if he goes third party, what are the chances that he would win on a third party ticket? It would ultimately just split the vote, right? So neither of the Democrats would win. And that's okay. I'm not, you know, for me, it's like, it's a progressive or bust this time around. I am not going to vote for the establishment candidate if a Bloomberg or a Biden or a Buttigieg is on the ticket. I am not voting for that person. I will vote third party myself, or I'll write in a name or whatever. But no matter what, it's a loss for the Democrats. I think they put an establishment person, they lose. And what I wouldn't want then is for Bernie, I don't know. I think it would be maybe too divisive to start the third party at this point. I think after this, once they lose again, then we come around and we say, okay, we want now this next ticket, Tulsi Gabbard, to be the representative on this new third party that we're creating after this election. I don't know if it's smart to do it during this election. I think it would just create too much hate and animosity. But I think we could maybe bring people in. If they were to go down this road and Trump were to win again, I think we could bring them in the next cycle and say, look, they screwed up. They continue to screw up. The progressives didn't go off and then create a third party. And so that you can blame progressives. There's nobody to blame but the Democratic establishment. Time to move on.
Yeah.
That's what I would think maybe.
I think strategically, that's a better way. If we did start a third party during this election, like you said, we'll never get some of those Democrats over to come on our side. But if we wait it out and they can't blame us for another Trump win, because they're going to blame us anyways, you, me, right. Susan Sarandon, then we get a good chance to get a lot more people on over to the party and start a legitimate third party. Let's stick on Tulsi Gabbard for a second, okay? Because and I want to kind of lump in a little bit of Andrew Yang. In the last election, 2016, Gary Johnson, the Libertarian, got almost 60,000 votes. He almost got 4% of the vote in Iowa. Do you see a Libertarian vote today coming into play to maybe boost up an Andrew Yang or a Tulsi Gabbard?
In Iowa?
4% last time, 60,000 votes for Gary Johnson.
Yeah. I would like to think so. I'm not 100%. I think people in Iowa might be a bit more interested in just defeating Donald Trump. And so I think they might end up going for one of the more, I guess, first tier or whatever they want to call. I hate it. I hate when they use those terms.
Top tier?
Yeah. Because it's like they're all, there's only how many people running for president? That's not that many people out of 300 million people. It's all top tier. At that point, it's all top tier. But I do think that people maybe in Iowa are a bit more concerned with defeating Donald Trump than I don't know if they have as much of a rogue streak in them.
Yeah.
To say, now New Hampshire is a different story, but I think in Iowa, the people are more concerned about moving forward. And so I think we're going to see a big Bernie turnout. I just think that anyone who is, I think we're just going to see, hopefully, I'm hoping a big Bernie. And I hope, I got to say, I'm not a big Warren fan anymore. I feel like she's really, I've really become less and less. She was kind of the least of my progressives that I'd vote for. And now I just don't even really consider her progressive. But I do hope she comes in second in this whole thing. You do? Just because it throws it in their face a little bit more that this whole far left that they keep saying that they're afraid of. Yeah. And her ideas are much more far left than Biden or Buttigieg for sure. She's still not like Bernie but she's still further left. And so I would like to see Bernie come in number one and Warren come in number two, just to stick it to the establishment a little bit more.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I was just about to ask you that because you did have some feelings I don't want to say feelings, but you were somewhat supportive of Elizabeth Warren in the past. But due to her recent behavior throughout this whole primary season and the way she came at Bernie Sanders, the way she did, do you think a Vice President Elizabeth Warren can beat Donald Trump? Because I'm of the notion that it can't. I'm of the notion that if you don't get a Tulsi Gabbard who's going to get that libertarian, non-interventionist, middle ground vote, then you don't have a chance. Do you think Elizabeth Warren would be more of an anchor to Bernie Sanders, or do you still think there's a chance they could win together and beat Trump?
No, I think that anybody who supports Warren, who ends up when Warren does not get the nomination, because she won't, when Warren doesn't get it, anyone who was supportive of Warren will go for Bernie. I don't think some might begrudgingly do it, but I think they will do it because I think ultimately Warren will turn around and support Bernie. At least I would hope so this time around. But that's why I don't like her anymore, because she can't be trusted. It's too difficult. She's flopping and all over the place. I agree with you that Tulsi Gabbard, even though she would be very divisive for the Democratic Party, there would be a lot of people who absolutely hate her. I still think they hate Trump more than they hate her. And I think that she would bring in that group of people that wouldn't vote for a Democrat no matter what, unless it is Tulsi on that ticket. Yeah. So it would be the most robust ticket that would bring in the most voters, even though some would be very begrudging, they would at least do it. Yeah. So
Johnny has a question.
Yeah.
So Allison Irwin on our chat on Rokfin says, I wish Tulsi had pushed Iowa more. Do you feel like it's like it was more strategic that she focused on New Hampshire?
I think it's a mistake she's not there, personally. I really question this decision. Why is she not there? I understand the excuse I don't think Bernie or Warren or Klobuchar are there, are they? I don't think they're in Iowa.
Well, Bernie, I believe they're back in the Senate right now. Bernie and Elizabeth, right?
Right, and Klobuchar. So they have an excuse because they're in the middle of an impeachment hearing that they have to be in.
Yeah.
But, you've got Yang on the ground out there in Iowa. You've got Biden and his wife there. They're kind of doing these tag team split jobs. And personally, I think she should be there. I understand she's way more popular in New Hampshire. She's going to do better in New Hampshire. And, the problem with the Iowa caucus, this whole, if you don't get 15%, then your votes have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Means that Tulsi's not likely to get really anything in most of these districts, if not all of them, when they consider it in that way. If she gets 5% of the people or 10%, then they have to go to a second choice person. I can understand the feeling of not wanting to be there. Andrew Yang is in that same situation, but I still think, it's Hillary Clinton made this mistake, right? She didn't go everywhere. And I know Tulsi did go to Iowa to campaign.
She did.
So it's not the same, but I still think for tonight, I just think it's not really, I get it. She's going to do way better in New Hampshire for sure. I just think she should be there.
Johnny's got one more question about money.
Someone in the chat was saying that maybe if you don't have the money, maybe that's why she didn't go to Iowa.
She's a small team. This is the negative aspect of having a small campaign. I mean, she's raised $7 million total compared to some of the other candidates, and she doesn't have a big team, so she can't cover a lot of ground. So that's some of the questions. Did you think that's the drawback of having such a small team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly, I understand her moving her headquarters out of Iowa. I can understand that a bit more. But catching a flight and getting over there for tonight and for the volunteers or for the captains that are in all of the precincts, I just, it's not what I would have done. But I'm not the one running for president, and I don't have all the information or the data. So I don't know what they're seeing or what they're hearing or what their reasoning would be for not being there tonight.
Well, you know what? You got to get used to answering these questions. Somebody said on our Rokfin chat the other day that either Nico House or Kim Iversen is going to be the press secretary for Tulsi Gabbard when she gets into the White House. So you're going to have to be answering questions for Tulsi Gabbard down the road. So it's good practice that you're doing it now on Rokfin.
I don't know if I would accept that job.
Well, that's what the fans want. That's what they're saying on our Rokfin chat. So we thought we should let you know. What about yourself?
I feel like I'm better off being like her personal Sean Hannity, right?
Exactly. Just get out there. You did such a great job at that rally we saw you. What's on store for Kim Iversen and independent media going forward? Because right now, today is like the birth of a new dawn. I started this show and everything, all the eyes were on today's date with the primaries, knowing that there would have to be independent media coverage out there. You've had such a big boom on YouTube. You're over 200,000 followers right now. Where's your mindset at and your frame of mind moving forward as far as being the responsibility of having independent media going forward?
I mean, I try not to think about that.
Yeah.
I just focus on, of course there's a big, obviously as the audiences get larger, then more people are there holding your feet to the fire.
Yeah.
So you have to be, you've got more people, smarter people, people, you've got a conglomerate of smart brains coming at you.
Yeah.
to check you, fact check you. And, I just, I think going forward, I don't know, I try not to think about it. Like I said, I just am going one day at a time with this and just trying to put out the content and bring more stories to people. I've got some traveling coming up.
Yes.
Going different places that I'm not at liberty to speak about just yet.
It's okay.
But I've got some stuff on, just trying to get out there and really just trying to just keep telling the truth or at least showing perspectives.
Yeah.
Rather than the bought out corporate media style where, they've got an agenda, a clear corporate agenda.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not in line with the public. So that's really,
It's
No, that
funny
was a
because
crappy answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's kind of like a curveball question because I always talk. Being in this business, having an independent media show, we always talk about the technical stuff, and I always talk about your voice. That you have that awesome radio voice. But what I think has made you so successful and so big is that your ideology, whatnot. You're not just one way or the other. You're so open to different things, and you can be on one side or the other. That a lot of people can really tune in to get some honest opinions, and they can really relate to your ideology. Do you think the fact that you're kind of in that ground where you just say what's on your mind and give your thoughts is what's really made you successful?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously backlash, at times from various, from
Absolutely.
different groups. Right?
I've been there and seen somebody yell at you, so it's like,
yeah,
it's
right,
like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah, people come at me and they want to label me certain things. I get called all the names, and so I think for sure I label myself a bit, right? I call myself a progressive. I feel like economically, politically, I'm a progressive. But I do think when it comes to certain other aspects, more maybe on the social issue stuff, I'm a bit more libertarian.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm like a libertarian socialist, if there is such a thing.
There is. Yeah. It's funny. I was calling myself a libertarian progressive, and people are like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense," because we had a libertarian on here and stuff. I don't know. I think you're doing an amazing job, Kim. I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people out here. We're just so anxious to see you. They think you're doing a great job. We think you're doing such a great job.
You guys are doing great. Your production here is amazing. I got to say, you guys are like really. You guys have upped the ante. Now I'm going to have to catch up.
I know. Well, everybody wants Jonny Sue on his team, whatnot. So
I know. Johnny's amazing.
He has. He really has. And you know what? I feel like we're all family, this independent media. And I think you guys have, I think you've been doing an amazing job and really setting a bar for us. So when we do this work here, when we do these productions, it's because you're the leaders of this movement in the independent media, and you are one of them, have held the bar so high and just done so well by us. And I want to thank you and I look forward to seeing more of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So give us your last thing. If Bernie comes in first place, who do you got for second place?
For tonight?
Yep. Who do you think?
Well, I think, gosh, I've been trying to assess this all day today, thinking about, I always think Buttigieg is kind of like the one that they're not watching.
Yes.
So I think there could be a chance Buttigieg actually sneaks in there and takes that second place. I just think Joe Biden's support is overblown by the media largely. And I think in Iowa, I think they like Buttigieg.
Yeah.
I think he's from that region.
Yeah.
And I think the younger crowd does like him quite a bit out there. So
I don't know why. I can be standing in Iowa. I can be in Illinois. There's no reason to like Pete Buttigieg. I can't even think of a reason.
But
who's dropping out after tonight? Who's going to be gone after Iowa?
Klobuchar, I think, is actually going to probably call it a day. I think after New Hampshire, she'll call it a day.
Some great.
I don't know if anyone's going to drop out tonight. After tonight,
nobody. Okay.
No, well, I think after next week.
All right, we'll see. Steyer, Bloomberg. We'll have to see about those guys.
Oh, Steyer, right? Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's some great analysis from independent media personality, Kim Iversen. Kim, we want to thank you so much for coming on to our Rokfin stream. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
YouTube, just KimIversenShow.com. You can find me there.
Kim, thanks for joining us, and let's hope we get some positive numbers tonight.
Yeah, thank you.